Well, hello everyone. Hello. Thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you that have logged on today to hear the topic of today and be a part of this conversation. I'm glad that we started like a whole lot early today. I am very glad and I'm very excited to get into the topic of today. And the topic of today is loving yourself, especially most especially now in this time. It's very important that we learn how to love ourselves. So with no further delay, I'm going to bring in one of my good friends, and I'm glad that she said yes to coming on. So I'm going to introduce to you Elizabeth Kilpatrick. Hey girl. Hello, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm loving those purple earrings.
Okay, y'all. These are one of a kind, first edition Evie Catherine Childs earrings. My daughter made them for me.
That is awesome. That
And
is
so
awesome.
I try to wear them whenever I can as a
Yeah.
little shout out to her.
Yes. And it's matching your shirt too.
It is. I buy a lot of purple because I have like three pairs of purple earrings she made me, and I like to wear her earrings.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is hilarious. Girl, thank you so much for saying yes to be a part of this conversation. I really appreciate it. And I cannot wait to like dig deeper and, really find out, how it is to love yourself. And I want you to, you know, I, I want you to be as open as much as you want. Um, uh, before we even start anything, my good friend Jackie always takes this time to just pause. And I want to take that time now to just pause before we get into this conversation. So if you don't mind, go ahead and do that. Just for a little. Beautiful. All right, let's get to this topic.
Woo!
All right. So my first question to you is, we're talking about loving yourself. So, like, what does self-love mean to you?
I've thought a lot about this because I think that self love and self care and all of those things are really buzzwords right now. But I think a lot of us don't have a concept of what that means. And for me, what self love has meant as I've gotten older and gone into middle age really is taking the time to know myself, to know the things that I like, to know the things that I enjoy, to know where my own boundaries are, and to care enough about myself to pursue the things that I love and that set my soul on fire, but also to set the boundaries between the things that sort of rob me of the joy of life. I think we take so much time to get to know other people, and so many of us are invested in other people, and we treat other people so well, and we don't treat ourselves so well. So for
Yeah.
me, self love really is about knowing yourself and treating yourself the way that you would a friend.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're right. You're right. We want to be able to meet people, connect with people, but we don't really dig deep to really see, am I connecting with myself? Am I loving on myself? What does that really mean to me when I
mhm,
say self-love? Does it mean, going on a walk or going to the beach? Or does it mean me just, reading an inspirational book or
mhm,
into an inspirational video? What does that really mean? And
mhm.
I think, wouldn't you agree that it all comes with the self-awareness aspect, like trying to, really know yourself pretty much?
Absolutely. And I think for in my experience, I got into my 30s and really looked around and was like, I don't even know who I am other than a wife and a mother and a daughter and all of these roles I was in. So, one of the things that really was important to me in my journey was, again, figuring out who I am and what I care about. And then having the courage to pursue those things, which is a whole different conversation. But yes, it absolutely, like, I love to color. I know this is so silly. Those coloring pages, I love to color. I discovered that in my late 30s and thank goodness for adult coloring books, but just small things like that will help you to begin to build yourself up so that then you can give to others and you can be there for others and be your best self to them.
That is very, very true. Why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners, tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, before I know I just digged right in,
Oh,
let's backtrack a little bit. Let's start by even, okay, who is Elizabeth? Tell us a little bit about that.
oh my goodness. So I'll give you the very short Cliff Notes version, if that's okay, because
That's
it's
okay.
long. I am 44. I have 3 children of my own and 1 stepson who is 8. My own children are almost 20, almost 16, and 12. Oh my goodness, girl. Um, I'm on my second marriage in my second half of life, and really tell people that this is where the stuff gets good. Like, I'm on all of the second chances. I have been sober for 8 months. So I stopped drinking a little over 8 months ago. And you want to talk about self love? Biggest gift I ever gave myself is sobriety. But I come from a small town in Alabama called Selma. If you are familiar with the civil rights movement, you will know where that is. And lived in Alabama almost my entire life. I'm now in Florida. And had kind of a tumultuous childhood. I've have my mother is a wonderful, wonderful person, but struggled with her own demons as I was growing up. Part of that was an eating disorder. My father passed away when I was 19. So I've had a lot of stumbling blocks or things that could have been stumbling blocks along the way.
Right.
But even at my worst times, I was very blessed that I knew that people around me loved me, and that even when I didn't love myself, I could always fall back on that. I had a core sense
Mm-hmm.
that I was lovable.
Mm-hmm.
And I really credit my parents with that. I mean, as tumultuous as their lives were, I never doubted for a second that they loved me and thought that I was smart and valuable and all of the things that, they validated me very well. So I was able to fall back on that when things got really tough.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I'm over here thinking to myself, how can Elizabeth love herself enough to forgive herself and nourish herself and move her body, feed her soul, and just live in the moment, you know?
Um, I will tell you that that is what the last 8 months of my life has been about, really.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, when you have, I lost myself after I divorced. I divorced 5 years ago. And my trauma from my childhood all piled up. And so then I get divorced and things go crazy. And I did a lot of things that I now look back on. I made decisions and choices that I'm not particularly proud of. A lot of them fueled by way too much wine, quite frankly. Um, and so forgiveness and moving past that for me has been a huge deal because when you stop putting the things in your system that numb you out,
Yeah.
you have to look at, you don't have anything to like make it go away anymore.
Yeah.
And but that's a beautiful thing because now when I move forward with things, I'm really moving forward with them. And
Yeah.
it has taken a good bit of work. And there are still days that I feel sad that my children saw me drink way too much, even
Yeah.
if it was during a short period of time. Um, I know that was scary for them. I know that. I mean that's hard for me as a mother. But what I take comfort in is that first of all, I'm showing them that redemption and second chances and third chances and fourth chances are possible and that
Yeah.
people can thrive and that it is never too late as long as you've got breath. It's never too late to start over. I'm showing them what it looks like to rescue yourself, to pick yourself up and to say, you know what? I know I did those things over here, but that's not who I am, and I'm not going to let that define the rest of my life. Um, and then I just have to, there are days, I won't lie, that I will have to text a girlfriend. I have a couple of really phenomenal girlfriends, and I'll be like, I just had this memory and I feel so sad. And I kind of get bogged down, and I have to have people who kind of say to me, it's okay, you're making good decisions now. Um, so I really, for me, forgiveness has come in every day getting up and living a life I'm proud of. So that the space between kind of the hard things there's a lot more space, a lot of good stuff in between. I don't know if that answered your question, but I think it did.
You did, but I really want to hit on something when you said living the life you are proud of.
Mm-hmm.
What does what does that mean? What does that take to live the what does like if I say I'm living the life that I'm proud of, and I say, okay,
What does
define
that
what
mean?
the life
What does
you're
that
proud of
mean?
means to you. I can't even.
For me, it's not necessarily about where I live or what I wear or my work necessarily, although I'm tremendously proud of the work that I do. And that, um, for me, it's about keeping promises to myself. It is about being true to the things that I value. So, one thing that I know, and it goes back to this idea of treating yourself the way you would a friend. When we make promises to our friends, most of us will bend over backwards to keep that promise. When we make promises to ourselves, too often we don't keep our promises to
We
ourselves.
don't.
We don't. We say, oh, I'm going to go for a walk tomorrow because I know that'll feel good, and I'm going to do that. And then we don't. We let other things get in the way. We let other priorities slip in. But if we had made a commitment to a friend, we probably would not break it.
Yes.
And so for me, living a life I'm proud of has to do with treating myself the way that I would a friend, and making sure that if I make a promise to myself, I keep the promise to myself. And so I have made the promise to myself that I am going to be, um, every day when I get up, I'm going to make the decision not to drink today. And I keep that promise to myself. And when I'm sitting on the beach and it's beautiful and everyone around me is drinking, and it's where I normally would have had a fruity drink in my hand, and I'm feeling left out, and I'm feeling kind of like, why can't, whatever, I feel sorry for myself. What I tell myself is, you made a promise to yourself, and you have broken too many promises to yourself, and you're not going to do that anymore. So it's treating myself and giving myself the same deference that I would give the people around me.
Wow.
That's living a life I'm proud of. And so that can look a million different ways, but the core of it is really to keep my promises to myself and to try to do whatever I do with integrity. And I'm not perfect. That doesn't mean I don't fail sometimes, but all in all, every day that I get up, especially in the last 8 months, I'm able to look myself in the mirror and be like, okay, I kept my promises to myself today.
Wow. Mm, I'm learning too, girl. But I'll tell you this right away. I like the fact that you talked about keeping your promise to yourself as you would a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to, this platform, as much as it's given me the opportunity to interview wonderful people and really touch, connect with their journeys that they have made in their life, it also helps me also discover, like pick a few things to also learn about myself. I'm a work in progress too. I am in no way, shape, or form a perfect individual. So when you talked about you got to keep your promise to yourself, today I said to myself, I have my tax season, but I need to be able to get my nails done.
Yeah,
I was looking so hard,
absolutely.
and I was like, I need to be able to get my nails done. If that is the one thing that I can do for myself today, I would make sure that I do it.
Absolutely.
And I did it, and I'm proud of me for actually saying that. And also, I told myself, I have to work out today. I have to find, even if it's just 20 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, to be able to take care of me. Because I think it's very important that when you take care of you, you have that, openness, should I say,
Mhm.
to be able to take care of other people. Um,
Absolutely.
when I think about self-love, I go back to when I had just given birth to my baby.
Hmm.
And after I gave birth to my baby, I went through a lot. I went through trying to figure out myself. Who am I? Who am I as a professional? Who am I as me? Who am I as a mom? Who am I as a wife? I
Hmm.
couldn't really figure out myself. It was like everything was just like intertwining together. And so I felt that, should I say, I felt that void, like I haven't really taken care of me. I've taken care of every other person. I feed my kid, I make sure my husband is good, but I haven't really taken care of me. So right after I had given birth to my baby, believe it or not, Elizabeth, I left my baby with my mother-in-law, and I'm like, I am going to Mexico.
I I mean, if that is what you needed to do, that's what you have to do. I mean, we have to take care of ourselves.
But I tell you, girl, like I got all the stares and the judgment, everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were like, "Oh, you're a new mom. You just gave birth." But I was like, I need to do this for myself, to be sane enough to be there for my child and my husband and every other person around me. So I hear you when you say the promises, if you can keep the promises that you make to your friends, you should be able to keep the promises that you make to yourself.
Absolutely. If you know, the Bible says, and I don't often quote the Bible, but the Bible says that you are to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, my goodness, um, that is like, you have to love yourself first.
Correct.
You have to love yourself first. And I just think that we don't do that. And our cultural view of motherhood, of womanhood, but motherhood in particular, is this very self sacrificial model.
Hmm.
But if you don't take care of yourself, and it can be as simple as going to get your nails done or
Right.
hiding in the bathroom for 5 minutes and doing a face mask
Yep.
and
Yep.
shutting the door
Yep.
and letting everything take care of itself. It can be as simple as just saying to yourself, you know what? I don't feel like cleaning the kitchen tonight, and it'll still be there in the morning.
Yes.
I can do it then. I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to lay in the bed and I'm going to read a book or watch meaningless TV and just
Yes.
rest. You know, when we do those things, we help to keep ourselves in a place where we can take care of others. But really, I just always go back to, I want to treat myself as at least as well as I would treat the people that I love around me. And I haven't done that always. And I think a lot of us don't. And I'm so proud of you. Like, that's a great, even though people are judgmental, the more we model caring for ourselves,
Yes.
especially to our children, the more we give our children permission as they grow up to really know who they are and stand firm in who they are. But when you have the courage to speak about it, you give other mothers the courage to take care of themselves. You give them a little bit of permission to take a little bit of space, and they may say, okay, my mother in law is judging me, and these other people are judging me, but there are other women out there like me. So that's inspirational because we need those permissions. We
Yes.
need that feeling that we're not alone.
Yes. You're right. So, someone asked me this question, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask Elizabeth. What fulfills you?
What fulfills me?
Yeah.
God. Um, a lot of things fulfill me and in different ways. And it's really simple things that tend to fill me up.
Hmm.
It is riding in the car with my children and we are listening to music, and we're all singers, my husband included. So, like, we can get in the car and on a road trip and crank it up and be singing four different parts to the top of our lungs. Um, I what fulfills me, being with my kids, being at the beach, love
Yeah.
the beach or in the mountains. um, just having dinner with my husband. It's the little things in the world. Like, I mean, I've done big things, but honestly, it's knowing that I did something that helped somebody, however small or big that may be, or knowing that a word of encouragement I gave helped someone, or, those are the things that fulfill me. Just being able to be in the moment wherever I am and really own the moment. But the thing that came to mind immediately was being in the car with my kids,
Isn't that the
like
cutest when
singing, because there's a freedom in that. There's just an absolute freedom and an unfettered joy in singing at the top of your lungs, riding down the road, and the sun is shining. And there's just, I mean, that's perfect.
yes.
That's perfect to me.
No, that's a deep question, like what
A
fulfills.
very deep question. It goes right along. Somebody asked me not too long ago, "What do you do for fun?" I was like, "What is this fun you're talking about? I haven't done that in a while." But and then personally, like, I love doing yoga, and I don't do like an hour of yoga a day, and nothing complicated. But I do try to get up every morning, and it's part of the keeping promises to myself, and do like 10 or 15 minutes of yoga. It's not that in the moment when I'm like, that I'm so fulfilled, but there is a fulfillment in knowing that every single day I'm doing that thing to care for my body, to stay in touch with who I am, to stay grounded. So it isn't like glamorous, but it is fulfilling. There's a
Yeah,
fulfilling part of just practicing day by day, practicing gratitude,
yeah,
practicing yoga, practicing meditation, all of those things. There's a lot of fulfillment in just doing those small daily things to keep yourself grounded,
you're right.
true to yourself.
You're right. I mean, I couldn't agree more, girlfriend. You're right. Like everything you're saying, it's true. Because especially now, like our world is just in a very rough place right now.
Oh, girl. I
And
mean,
you could lose yourself instantly.
and I've seen so many people doing it. Like, um, social media is a beautiful blessing and can be a terrible curse. And, you know, things are so tumultuous, chaotic. One thing I've really worked on and that I've talked to other people about is cultivating calm inside yourself, because there's always going to be chaos around us. So, the trick, I mean, the idea behind meditation, the idea behind all the things we do to reduce stress, the idea behind yoga is to cultivate that calm in ourselves so that as the world goes crazy, we're anchored into a quiet place, and at least have a quiet place to go to. I'm not saying sometimes the world doesn't just get me all down, but I have a core little quiet place that I keep. And um, and I think it's important, as everything sort of spins out of control, it's more important than ever that we really do take that time to care for ourselves and just give ourselves little bitty things. It doesn't have to be out of, crazy. Like spending 5 minutes and go in your bathroom, hide in your bathroom, put on your face mask, and take 5 minutes to just close your eyes and breathe while your face mask dries. You do that 3 times a week, that'll make a difference in your ability to like keep yourself calm.
You're right.
It's little stuff.
You're right. I think, what really fulfills me, that's a deep question, but it's a very important question. I think for me, it's more like, my kids and my kid. And
Is there something
you
you need to tell us today? I'm kidding.
uh, my kid and, my husband, just being around them, and just expressing myself and, what I want to do. And also, I think like for me, also meditation. So when you talked about yoga, I said to myself, you know what, Elizabeth is hitting the spot because to be honest, when I don't meditate every given day, it's almost like when I start my day, my whole day is chaotic. Like you could tell
Absolutely.
me, I could be like, oh yeah, I get to this, and I never get to it because I haven't really taken the time to pause, you know, strategize, think about, just meditate and just, be silent, be still,
Be
just
still.
be still in the moment. I was listening to Oprah the other day and she was talking about be still so that you can hear the whisper,
Hmm.
the whispers that, because the whispers is the universe talking to you,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
Whispers is God talking. Whatever it is that you believe in, that is the person passing on that message to
Hmm.
you when everything is still and quiet.
Absolutely.
Um, because the world is very noisy, and a lot of people have virtually everything they want to say, and people are putting out fake news out there, and people are getting
Hmm.
very shaky about a lot of things. And so you're right, when you really take that time to just find something that you do that makes you stay grounded, it makes a whole lot of difference in one's life, and it gives you that. I guess for me, I think it gives me that new sense of self to be able to take
Hmm.
on something, to be able to take on more, whether that is more work in terms of, like being 100% myself and intentional, or take on, more mommy duties or more wifely duties, or
Hmm.
whatever, the duties that I have done. And so I really appreciate you being very honest, open, and, tell us a little bit where, our audience and can, our listeners can find you, because I know you have a very awesome blog. So why don't you just talk a little bit about
So I have just started a blog,
that?
and it is at yogapantswarrior.com. So yoga pants, which I am wearing yoga pants right now, cute on top, yoga on bottom, yogapantswarrior.com. And it is kind of my musings on life. Some of it's very serious, some of it's not so serious. But really, my mission and my purpose right now is to help other women who are in the stage of life I'm in, which is midlife. It's where, as Brene Brown, the universe takes you by the shoulders and shakes you and says, I'm not effing around. Like, you got to use your talents now. So, to help other women in this stage of life, um, maybe get to skip some steps in the journey so that I'm showing them and telling them about the things that have worked for me. So maybe they don't have to go the hard route like I have.
And you'll be surprised. You may say to yourself, "Oh, I don't think I'm really hitting a lot of people," but you are.
Well, I hope so. I mean, one thing that I feel really strongly about is that there are so many amazing women um, that have been willing to use their voices to say hard things and to do hard things. But I'm so grateful for women like Oprah and the women that have come since then. People like Brene Brown and Glennon Doyle and Elizabeth Gilbert. And I mean, gosh, so many who have
Right.
used their voices to say really important, hard things. And they've touched me. They have given me a roadmap to find myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel really strongly that I need to use my voice to help other people have a roadmap. The more we tell our stories, the less shame we all have. Brene Brown says that when you speak shame, you take the teeth out of it.
Oof.
When we speak the things that we think make us isolated, when we speak the things that we worry that are only us, what we find is that we're not alone.
Oh,
And that's the point. We I don't want other people to feel alone. And if I can just speak one small thing that helps them go, oh my God, I thought that was just me. Maybe I'm not such a weirdo. um, then I feel like I've fulfilled part of what I'm supposed to do in this world, which is to just use my voice. Use my voice.
I love it. I love it. Guys, we're going to segue into, because I'm a firm believer of when you talk, you still have to act, right?
Absolutely.
We we have said all this beautiful stuff. So, I'm gonna introduce my friend and a very special guest. Um,
Woo!
right after the quick segment. Her name is Jacki Malec. So let's go ahead and go on a break. And then we're going to have Jacki come on and she's going to walk us through this actionable steps that we can do in our life.
Looking forward.
Jacki,
Hi,
Hi.
Jackie.
Oh, how come I can't see? I'm like on this. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
I
Yes.
can hear you just fine.
Great. Thank you. My internet went down. So
No, you.
I'm using my phone now. First of all, Elizabeth, I really want to thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest. And I feel that yes, a lot of times we always put on our best face, but for you being so vulnerable and saying what you're going through and how you've gone through this journey is really not only refreshing, but it's also inspiring. And I think it can help so many people. So thank you for that. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. I was in the back listening to every word, most of the words until the internet went down. So I got on my phone. So I missed a little bit of it. But as far as the action, a couple of things. I know that listening to everything you were saying, my mom used to have a saying, like, to be happy, something has to happen, right? So we have to do something. And to be joyful is just more of a state of mind. And I think that there's a couple of things that I want to touch upon that you were talking about that you've had. You've been able to rely on knowing that your mom and you had that love unconditional, even though whatever they were going through, there was still that love, and you can remember those feelings. And one of the questions I did have, and this is really isn't an action, but a follow-up question is, what would you suggest to people? I mean, I had a very loving family as well, so I understand what you're saying, but I'm thinking of those that don't have that to fall on, to really understand, like, what advice would you give to them? So let's just say that real quick, and then I have some other things I wanted to say.
And I mean, I was a child of divorce and everything. I mean, it was not an easy upbringing. Um, they did a good job. But what I would say to people is that ultimately, our childhoods, whether they are great or they're hard, and whether or not people love us or don't, or we don't, or whether we feel like they love us or don't, there comes a place where we have to ultimately kind of take responsibility for loving ourselves and even sort of reparenting ourselves. So give ourselves that care that we didn't necessarily feel like we had when we were growing up. And, you know, I have done a lot of therapy. And then done a lot of sort of non-traditional healing work. But if somebody really had that childhood experience that was so tough, um, look into a concept called reparenting yourself,
Hmm.
which is just loving yourself. It just goes back to kind of waking up and saying, that was hard. It was really bad. I can do things now that will help me to heal those things and break those generational curses, for lack of a better way to put it, because I'm a big believer in trying to break the cycles. But yeah, I mean, I was blessed with parents who loved me, but it was not easy. I mean, there was a point that I had to really kind of stand up and say, you know what, I can be a victim or I can not be a victim here. And I'm not going to live my life as a victim. I'm going to take responsibility for making sure that I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that helps anybody else, but I hope it does.
I think that it would. Okay, so thank you very much for that. The other, there's a quote that I was reading is Byron Katie was saying, and I love this because I think it kind of is kind of dovetailing off of what you're saying. And it says, pleasure is an attempt to fill ourselves, right? And then it says, joy is what we are. So I feel like that joy and that center and that it doesn't matter of the past or the future. If we can just really delve into that presence, like you had mentioned also, that we don't have to, like my mom would also say, you have to move 10 inches to be happy. You'll never be happy. You have to get that job. You have to get that, whatever it is. Those kids have to be perfect. We're not going to be happy. We're not have that joy is always there. So the activity that I wanted to ask you is, I was also a teacher. We do like make it and take. So we listen to great inspirational things, but we want to have something we can take and basically put in our toolbox for either teaching or let's say parenting. So I wanted to ask, and maybe we do this together, is what something that we can make and take that we can use in order to remove the block, the presence of love in our lives. Like we have that love that is there. It's just a matter of removing those blocks. So let's say we don't have the perfect sunset at the beach or the kids or whatever. It doesn't matter what's happening outside. Within us is that perfect peace and that love, and to be able to remove the blocks. So maybe as the three of us, of what is something that we can remove it to really realize the joy that we are without anything having to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like the light is there, and how do we remove the block so we see our own light and our love and our divinity within us?
Okay, I got some of that, but yes, absolutely. I think that a lot of us have blocks to our to really feeling like we can live our lives as ourselves, and to that sort of self love and joy within us. And I think that some of the things that we've already talked about are really ways that we can release and let go of things and really move beyond the blocks that we've got to our own self love. I really am a huge, huge believer in meditation, and not necessarily having to sit for 30 minutes completely quiet every day and not be disturbed and chant and whatever. I do sometimes do that, but even just little bits, to me, that quietness that we've talked about, that being still, helps us to identify the things we need to let go of, and then gives us the space to let go of them if we need to. So that is, for me, one of the really big ways that I've been able to let go of some of the blocks to really taking care of myself and forgiving myself for things that I am not, whatever I've done that I perceive as my mistakes in the past. It's given me that space, and you have to give yourself that space. So that is what I would say for me has been the thing. Are we all muted? Can we not unmute ourselves? Bless Jackie. Okay, and I can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Jacki, can you hear us?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes, it was all the scratching and everything. Okay. Hi.
Okay. So Elizabeth just finished answering. So,
Okay.
let's go ahead.
Oh, should I answer again?
But I think what's really interesting in life is all I heard was a lot of static, and I think this is what we're talking about in our lives. There's so much static outside. We have to just get calm within and say, this is something that's happening outside. What's the realization of what we truly are is this light that's within us, is that divinity. It's like, that's okay. There's always going to be static. There's always going to be disconnect, but we cannot lose that connection of ourselves. And I think this was just a beautiful example of what happens moment by moment. And I think that And I do believe in the meditation. I mean, even if you're at a red light, I know I listen a lot to Eckhart Tolle as well, and he says, like, our essence is what's behind our thoughts. It's like, our thoughts can be going crazy. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about, we have 70 or 80,000 thoughts a day. Women probably double. And if those thoughts are always this static and that's all we're hearing, and we try to do yoga, we try to do all these exterior things, unless we reconnect with what we truly are. And that's why I love this saying is, pleasure is the attempt to fill yourself, joy is what we are. Like that, we don't have to do anything. If we just, like my mom again would say, we're human beings, not human doers. Like I love that. We're incredible beings, just to be, and just to really live from that space, and not having to add to it or take away. Just be in that space. And there's another quote that I love from A Course in Miracles, says, love is incapable of asking for anything. It just is. It is everything. So we're in that space and we have the static, we lose connect. It's okay. Like it's it's all in living in that space of like, wow, it's all it's exactly how it needs to be. And it's we are that divinity within, and each one of us is, regardless of what's on the outside or what the past is or what the future is going to be, or the choices that we've made. The choices don't define us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I think I did another,
I'm so sorry, y'all. I asked my husband to take care of this, and this is...
It's okay.
But that's also life too. The barking dogs. We have something constantly coming at us. It could be the, COVID or whatever. What's our bar? And I think that's really the point, is the blocks are that the bar. And I had this with a girlfriend of mine, the barking dog. Like, we were at my house, we're trying to do meditation, and the dog kept barking and barking. She goes, that is such a visual and audible as well. Is like, what is our barking dog, and how do we get beneath it, that we don't hear it, so right now I think as globally, maybe the barking dog can really be COVID, and how we feel and what it brings up and all this stuff. And instead of trying to put a band-aid or do something else, it's like, okay, let's get beneath that barking dog, like what is it that's within us, that is, it transcends all of that, all the noise and the static and the dogs and the kids and all of that in any moment. Like, that's what I'm learning. I don't have to go to my meditation room or to my yoga. It's just in that moment, as you were saying, being present. And Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about, we've only ever lived our life in the present moment. But how often are we really present?
Right.
For me though, if we don't practice being in the present. So for me, meditation, as I was saying, and yoga and those things have been really good practice to train myself so that when things go nuts, I have that core to go back to. So I can say to myself, like, I know what it feels like to be still. I know what it feels like to be calm. I know what it feels like to pull myself back into my body when I get way too much in my head, which I tend to do. I live a lot of my body up here. I mean, a lot of my life up here. And one of the things I have to do is kind of pull myself back into the present moment. So I love the idea of pleasure being sort of a fleeting thing, but joy is something we have inside. And I think we tend to think like that people who are happy are like happy, but real joy, at least for me, is a quiet thing. It's a quiet thing. It's the little bitty moments. It's the, when your baby is sleeping and you look at her or him and you think, oh my gosh, and you see creation right there. And it's the little stuff. It's the tiny little moments that we can just be completely present in it where we are.
So I guess as for like okay, then muted. As far as like the make and take to be able to take with us, I completely agree with you. Like, if we get into, and also I'm saying, the meditation, but every day. My husband and I will always start in the morning before we get out of bed, just 8 minutes and 8 of silence, just to know, just to recognize it. So when, yeah, exactly what you're saying. If you don't it's like if you don't go to the gym, you're not exercising those muscles, they're not going to be there, they're going to atrophy, right? So if we can do it, and just when things aren't, when the dog isn't barking and the connection doesn't go out, when everything's peaceful, to be able to go there, then we can recognize it at any given time. We can also be there. And also, I love the thought that 80% of what we communicate is nonverbal. So if we're like super frantic and if we're not verbalizing it, our body is saying that, and that's affecting our families or someone in line at the grocery, wherever we are. So I think it's I completely agree with what you're saying, that when we can get into that calm space, it radiates out as well, and we communicate so much without knowing, we're screaming things without our mouths even opening up. And so I think it's really important as well to be aware of that. And I think that's exactly the point that you're saying, to be able to be in that space.
Yeah. Elizabeth, I want to ask you, I know you do yoga. So why don't you, I know this is like surprising thing, but why don't you like lead us to like the 5 minute, well, maybe not 5 minutes, but a 10-second something that we can do to be able to just be in the moment and, be intentional.
One of the most powerful yoga poses is what they call mountain pose. And I cannot demonstrate it because I'm in the space this big. But mountain pose is quite literally standing with your feet parallel, hip distance apart, spreading out your toes and grounding your feet into the ground and standing up straight like you've got a little, string here, and putting your arms by your side and holding your hands open wide and just standing and breathing. And that is mountain pose. And it, to me, is one of the most powerful poses in yoga. There's no fanciness to it.
Right.
It is quite literally grounding yourself into the earth and standing like a mountain, firm and solid, and being who you are in that moment. That's it. That is my favorite thing. Every morning, that is the one thing that I start my yoga practice with, is really just standing in mountain pose and breathing into that.
Yeah.
But it's really just standing, but standing tall and straight and taking up your space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the room, in the world, in the universe, So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Jacki, do you have any other questions or activities that we can do?
Yes, let's see. I do love that, what you're saying. I feel like you did cover so many of the thoughts and activities, and about just taking your space, as far as what you've been saying. So that is kind of the make and take, just with the breathing. I think that we did talk about that a lot.
Absolutely.
And that you can do anywhere. And I feel like even for people say, like, breathing in 4 and then letting out 4, and just kind of getting back in that rhythm of life. So yes. Any advice that you would want to give to just someone that's listening to kind of just start out? Like, what would be the number one thing that you feel that you can, like, a takeaway that you can tell people, like, oh, just do.
You actually hit on it. Breathing. And we are shallow breathers.
Right.
We're in, especially if we're stressed out, we're very shallow breathers. And one thing I do, and I didn't mention it, but I do this, is what they call box breathing. So it's, and I should have said this one instead of mountain pose, but I love my mountain pose. But it is taking in 4, it's like breathing in to the count of 4,
right,
holding the count of 4, breathing out to the count of 4, holding that for a count of 4. So it's like, so you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you look it up, you can go look at the studies. It physically, like physiologically, lowers your blood pressure, slows your heart rate, and it tells your parasympathetic nervous system to begin to balance out the crazy, uh, the anxiety, the
Yeah.
stress. But
Yeah.
just doing that 2 or 3 times will significantly change how you react to things. And you can do that anywhere. I have been known to do it in the car. Don't close your eyes in the car. But, if I have something hit me that is super stressful, that is the thing I have to tell myself, like, okay, just breathe right now, breathe right now, breathe right now. And it will change your perspective. So that would probably be something that something actionable someone could take away. Breathe. It really will help. And breathe into your belly. Don't do the thing where you go, you want to breathe into your belly so that if it rises, it's rising from your belly. I'm a singer. We do that diaphragmatic, have you say it, breathing. So you got to breathe into your belly.
Oh my God.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I was just reading about that, and the number 4 for some reason just really
Mm-hmm.
balances everything
It
back.
does, and so it makes a square. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, see, I didn't even think about it.
Um,
Oh my
It's a
God.
box breathing. It makes a square because you're essentially equal on all sides. Equal in, hold it. Equal out, hold it. And you're doing it 4 counts on all the sides.
I love
Box
that.
breathing.
There's our
I love
there's
it.
our make and take. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
We can do
I'm
that.
gonna be doing that now. I didn't even think you made a square, but when
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. What you just did.
It
I didn't think about it.
literally, when I do it, I think about like I think about like coming up, over, down, over. Like I think of it as a box, like right
Yeah.
over here. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the visual for it. Yeah, 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold. If you
Yeah,
do
'cause
that, it'll help.
when you said box, I was like, so how does the breathing work in a box? But then when you did it, I was like, oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
That's funny. I was trying to connect the dots in my head. I'm like, how does he represent the box?
Yeah.
But now it makes sense. Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. Well, I think that's it. I mean, I think that's it. I think, Jackie, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
I just think this is so important, and I think it's such a beautiful thing. And thank you, Elizabeth, for being here. And I think at this time right now, I think, like you said, also change the perspective. And I think that's such a crucial thing as well. Like to be able to stop, if we can, if everybody can do the box breathing, and then think about, and then like what I've tried to do is when I start breathing, kind of try to get in the rhythm of the other person, and then see it the way that they see it. Like, how are they seeing me, or how are they seeing the situation or life? Or there's so many polarized topics going on, and such heated real beliefs that people are holding on to, and it's like, and it's hard for people to really see it the way the other person sees it. But I think in that breathing, it kind of like releases that like tight, almost fear of, I don't want to let go of my own belief, because then, then what am I, right? But when we're breathing and we get back in touch with who we truly are, that belief isn't what makes us. It's something that's, a thought that's in our head. It's just a thought, and then we can release it with that breathing, and then we can literally see it the way the other person sees it. And then they're to be understood, you have to understand them, right? But I think it all starts with the breathing, because we kind of get stuck, and you can see people like, and they literally stop breathing in their veins, and everybody's getting really upset, and they don't have that mental pause to breathe and then see a different perspective. And I think that's so critical. Always, and especially right now, on so many topics. So I think this is such a beautiful place to be able to breathe, and thank you for taking us through that. And I think it's just such an important aspect of life, right? And as you mentioned while you were talking before, as long as you're breathing, you get a second, a third, a fourth chance. I mean, I think there's so much life all stems from that breath. And if we're breathing, we're all breathing of the same, we're all of the same essence. We can't forget that part. We all need to breathe, right? And they keep saying 2020s, we keep seeing things about like, I can't breathe when people have the COVID, when the, all the different crises things have been happening. It's just kind of reminding us that breath is so important. It's something that we all do. We're all the same. We all breathe in and breathe out. We're the core of us is the same, and we need to keep. I'm trying to remind myself that as well. So it's just been beautiful reminder, and I love the box as a real visual. So I thank you for that, and it couldn't be more timely. This whole conversation.
Right. Guys, I mean, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I mean, my takeaway from this would just be like, just to piggyback off what Jackie said, you can't be understood if you don't understand. That's a fact. And breathing and just taking time to just take the time to just breathe. That is one thing that we all share. It's not unique to one person. And I like the fact that Jackie also mentioned that we're human beings, not human doers. But I wrote that down because I'm definitely gonna remember that when I'm trying to please the whole world, trying to do everything for everybody, and forget about myself. But I think most importantly, like the breathing and the trying to understand people. I feel like you also have to dig deep and love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, you cannot create the space to even understand somebody else.
Absolutely.
So when you love yourself, you stay grounded, you know your why, you know exactly what my purpose is, why am I here. Then when you have, I guess, like the extra space to be able to accommodate because some people tell you stuff, right? Like I always say, not everything is trash, but you don't have to accept everything, but you don't have to throw away everything. You take what applies to you and you toss the other one, but you don't toss away everything, right? But to even be able to filter out what applies to me or what is trash, you really need to know where am I? Who am I? Where am I in my journey? What phase am I? What can I take? What can I take? What can I keep for future purposes? So I think the loving yourself, I think it's the most important thing. When you love yourself, you kind of open up that you kind of open up your heart to be able to see where you need to work on, or what you need to work on, or that kind of thing. So with that, guys, I want to thank Elizabeth. I want to thank Jackie. I want to thank my sister keeper, Nadia, my very good friend. She did all the behind the scenes production. Um, and I want to thank each and every one of you for hanging with us today. This conversation, like Jackie said, is very timely, especially in a world that we are right now, how everything is just up and down and very chaotic and noisy. So guys, just always take the time to be still and take the time to just really, keep your promises to yourself. I think that's the most important thing. Like, keep your promises to yourself as you would when you promise your friend, or, let's go out, or let's do this, or let's do that. Keep that to yourself as well. All right, guys, have a wonderful day and stay blessed. Bye.